costume, because he did that with just a plain saw and hammer and nails.
The door handle in the sauna is made out of an old log scribe.
John failed shop when he was in high school, and his teacher told him never to try and build anything. And we just learned as we went along. Business that you get into living in the country that involves food. The honey and the maple syrup are one, but also having a garden and growing all of your own vegetables. What I do is go to various farms and see how they raise animals and buy animals from the farmer. It's very important with all the different things that can be fed to animals. I think there are 63 different valid chemicals that you can throw in to speed up growth of an animal. I grew up in a small town north of Toronto with 500 people.
We both grew up in landlocked villages, and we're back to sort of a village life, but here we are surrounded by the water. It kind of isolates us, and we want to be isolated. Jenny raises bees. Now that could be regarded as a hobby, but it's also part of our lifestyle. We get all our honey from Jenny's bees. She also does maple sugar in the springtime, so we get our sweets through Jenny's efforts.
My father was a beekeeper, and I think that's where my original interest in bees came from. For me, it's terrifically exciting to work with the bees, because if you don't know what you're doing, it could be quite dangerous. A beekeeper has to have a certain kind of temperament, should be a very cool, calm person, because you can't make sudden movements or loud noises. They do not like it, and they'll swarm you if you do. Towards the end of July, there are about 300,000 bees, and at that time, they're working so hard they live and die in 3 weeks. The beekeeper's art increases the production, and that is what you take off in the fall. The rest, you have to leave them to winter through. So you know, very conservative about the amount that you've actually earned. But in a very real sense, you've earned something. If you hadn't built this special box for them and put all this knowledge into it, they would have produced very much less.
I did a BA at Western and had one hell of a good time, I guess. Then I knocked about for a few years, traveled Europe, worked in theater and film, came back to Canada, worked for the CBC, and then decided to take life a little more seriously. I don't see myself as working at one thing and coming home and living a different way. My life, I guess, is sort of organic. It's integrated. Sometimes it seems disintegrated, but yeah, I like teaching. I wouldn't want to be without teaching. Teaching and writing and building and riding horses, living here, they're all parts of the process of living my life, you know. We live our lives as much as possible the way we want to.
When we bought the island, John and I were both students, graduate students.
Jenny finished her PhD in psychology, and I finished mine in English and Canadian literature.
We invested the money that we would have spent in the summer on rent, on tents and equipment, and then we camped on the island.
We never did do architectural plans or any such thing. Everything we did was sketched out on the back of the proverbial envelope. The fireplace started as a barbecue. The barbecue became a fireplace. The fireplace became a wall and a cabin, and the cabin became a log house.
This is a house as it was when we found it. It was 14 miles away near Croydon.
We used a proper tripod and then a block and tackle and raised the logs. These logs were seedlings when Champlain came. You know, these are old trees, old logs.
Working with logs that have been done by someone else's hand, you really have the feeling of their presence around. This house was always in one family, the South family, and some of their descendants come around still.
We had a hell of a time digging the foundation. Being on an island, we couldn't get any heavy machinery over here. We wanted to keep the trees as close as possible to the house. The foundation hole could only be a little bigger than the foundation itself. So as you put the blocks up, you ended up hunched over to smooth out the cement. It took me the whole of the Montreal Olympics. Each major turning point in the building is kind of, our marriage is on the brink, the disaster point. And Jenny is the eternal optimist. She assumes we can do things. I assume we can't do things. And we hassle things out until we reach the point where I assume we can do it and she assumes we can't. Then we go the next step and get it done.
Lady's my sister's horse. She's really easy to canter, and she really likes trotting, but she doesn't like walking at all. My father's horse, his name's Troy, and he's the one I usually ride. He's way, way taller than I am. I've had thousands and billions of falls off Troy.
Laura,
well,
start again.
I've had some falls off Troy, but they seem like there's a lot.